at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
It's empowering, you know. I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. All right, what up, dogs? Welcome back to another episode of the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. We got Ellia Miller back on here. This is a special episode, an extra special episode, because we're breaking down Harry Potter. You're watching the movies right now, right?
Yeah, so I just finished 5 last night. Well, 5 is just so sad.
Yeah, it is. That's when it starts to get sad, right? Depressing.
Yeah, and so I think I've talked to you before, and I think that's part of the reason why I've never made it past 5 for the books or the movies. It's like the first, 1, 2, 3 books or movies is all like, oh, little kids go to this wizard school and they learn how to be
Christmas
wizards
time, all doing all the fun things.
Yeah, and then it like shit gets real.
Yeah, because Voldemort comes back at the end of 4, right? That's when like the graveyard scene happens, and then 5, it's like he's like back by the end.
The thing that gets me about 5 is when Sirius dies.
Oh, of course.
I've watched it 2 or 3 times now, just like throughout the years that it's been around, and every time I'm like, God damn.
Yeah. That's supposed to be like really hit Harry, and it does. It's deep, serious.
Yeah.
Because they make him such a lovable character.
Yeah. Like it's like when the scene is just like there's no sound, but it's just Harry screaming. And is it like Lupin that's trying to grab him? And but it's no sound. You just see him screaming, but you don't hear it. And It's like, oh, that hits hard.
It's crazy. And then that's right after that scene is him like chasing Bellatrix, and then that turned into Voldemort, right? And that's when you see them first have like contact and fight. Yeah. And I believe that's the beginning of him and Voldemort like share a brain. You might not even know this yet. This may be the next book.
No, that started in 5.
It started in 5. Yeah, so they like share a brain.
Yeah, 5 starts with him like having like weird dreams.
Oh yeah. Mr. Weasley. That's part of the reason why they ended up there, right?
Yeah, and then in 5, that's when Snape does like the mind training with him. Yeah.
Yeah, the occlumency or something like that. Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't remember
all the words.
Yeah, for real. Because I mean, it's made up wizard words and stuff like that. That's like a good plot. They dropped those dreams into Harry's brain, and then the last one was to get the MacGuffin, which is that's what it would be in other movies, but whatever, the prophecy,
Yeah.
It's funny. That's a good plot by the bad guy. Good job, Voldemort. All right, so let's go back, right? Like, in the first like 3 movies, because you can kind of think about them. We were talking about that like in a block. Like the first 1 or 2 are like really kid friendly and nice. The third movie, especially, and the book, get like a little bit darker. But then by 4 and 5, it's like super dark, as it rounds off like towards the end. The first 3 movies, what do you think about Harry like as a hero? Is he like a good hero, or is he like? I kind of think he's an idiot. That's kind of my take on things,
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at the beginning, like Harry is not a character that's like going out of his way to be the hero. It's like he just ends up like right place, right time, or maybe wrong place, wrong time, depending on how you look at it.
That's how McGonagall says, right? Like, why is it always you 3?
Yeah.
At some point in that series, she says that.
And so it's like he's not trying to like quote unquote be the hero. And I think because of that, like he's just trying to be a kid, and all this stuff keeps happening. And it's like sometimes you just want to like slap him and be like, dude, stop being an idiot. Like just do what you need to do to save the world or whatever. and then move on.
And if you want to be like a normal kid, then do normal kid things. Cause like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's 50-50 on what you said versus him like also going to chase trouble. Like,
Yeah.
like in the first movie, they sneak down into the pit or whatever, you know? I feel like that's like classic like sci-fi fantasy movie type thing. Don't go into the pit.
Don't go into the
like
pit.
it's not that hard to like
Don't touch
figure
the
out.
sticky slime.
But they do it, and I guess that chases Ghost Voldemort away, you know. So good job. But like, I don't know. But yeah, Harry's cool, and he is one of my favorite characters. But like my next question that I sent over to you is like, it's written from like the third person point of view, right? Like,
Yeah.
like Harry's not telling the story; it's just being told about him. But he's like the main character. We see things through his lens, even though it's not like told from his POV. How do you think the story would change if like Hermione was the lead person, but like Harry's still there? The prophecy's still about Harry, but we just see it through Hermione's lens. Personally, I think that she would have wrapped this shit up like by book 3. I don't think that we would have a 7-part series, you know?
I think that's very true.
Yeah, like something that bothered me, dude, is like Hermione's supposed to be the super smart wizard. And like one of those years, she gets the freaking time machine thing, the clock, the like table, the time turner or whatever.
The time turner, yeah.
But she never figures out what Dumbledore was doing all those years. And she never figures out like Voldemort's whole 7 lives plot. Like Hermione never researches
that yet.
I just thought about that last night. She never researches Voldemort. I feel like if anyone had really researched him, they could have found out kind of what was happening earlier, you know?
I mean, I can't speak much to that because I still don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know yet. But like he comes
like,
back to life, and that's
there's
part of
something
it.
about
like,
Horcruxes. I really still don't know what a Horcrux is, but
yeah, that's why I like didn't even bring those up. But those are coming later. Like that plot, like we were talking about plots earlier. That plot by the Voldemort, I was like, I don't know about this one. They probably should have seen through this. But yeah, how does no one research him and find out more about him? Like you should have known that he was able to come back. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Was there even research available about him? Like what did people know about him before?
I mean, there's stuff out there on anyone, right? Like you got like relate like them to, I guess they don't use technology, but like essentially Voldemort was like Hitler, you know, because he went away once.
Yeah.
Like he had already been a bad guy. I'd already had one wizard in Civil War and then like passed. So like someone had to know stuff about him, you know, like he had followers that they had in jail and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And they just like brushed him under the table. That's how he was able to wash away the government. They just brushed him under the table and like they weren't allowed to talk about him. So I'm gonna guess your favorite movie. Is it Prisoner of Azkaban?
I actually really like The Goblet of Fire.
Goblet of Fire. That's a good one.
I feel like a lot of people don't like The Goblet of Fire, but I really liked it. I think
it's a great movie.
Like I liked, and this is going to sound so lame because my entire life is CrossFit competitions. I liked the competition.
Yeah, that's funny.
I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like high school age kids would do that, you know. Harry plays sports his whole time there. Like that's one of the big elements of it that they kind of miss out on in the movies. Like Harry competes in the championships too. He doesn't just go to the Triwizard. Like he competes, he wins the championships like 2 of the years that he's in school, you know, and he's just half dead the other ones, and that's why he doesn't win it, you know. That's a big part. So yeah, that the Triwizard tournament is really cool. Is that the first movie that has the new Dumbledore, or is that the third movie?
Oh, I forgot they even brought in a new Dumbledore. I don't remember when that happens.
Because I know the guy he passed, you know, that played him in the other ones. I mean, it's sad that he passed, but it's definitely I think the new one that they brought in was a better Dumbledore for the darker movies. You know,
I didn't even notice a difference in Dumbledore, if I'm being perfectly honest.
They're just both old guys. It's fine. It's fine. But all right, dude. So that's a perfect segue into this. So obviously, you just had a big competition, you know, that you threw down, and we were talking about it a little bit in North America West.
Oh man. I mean, so I didn't obviously meet my goal of qualifying for the games this year, but I am so like invigorated and motivated
Hell yeah.
next season. It was such a huge confidence boost. I'm so excited.
That's awesome. I think it's perfect too that you did all the breakdown of the workouts, right? Because I never remember workouts when I talk to people like after competitions. And I'm sure it's hard for like you to remember everything. But let's look at some of them, right? Test 1 on the assault bike here. That is the sled pull thing. How did you
Yes.
feel about the sled pull before when they announced it? How did you feel like when you were doing it? What was your reflections on that?
Yeah. So when they first announced it and they didn't tell us like what the pull was going to be, everybody just assumed it was going to be a sled, but like, who knows?
It just came out and said pull at the beginning. Was it like the framework of it?
84-foot hand over hand pull. And it had a listed weight for males and females, but it didn't specify if it was a sled or anything.
Yeah.
And everybody just assumed sled. But then, you know, I'm talking to some people and it's like, well, I mean, they could throw the freaking turtle at us, which is like that sandbag that they pulled up the hill in Rogue.
Yeah.
So like it could be anything. And then when the East went and I saw what they were actually pulling and it was that magic carpet sled, I actually got really excited because we have one of those at the gym.
Oh, that's dope.
That's the sled that the Army uses for the ACFT. And so because our gym is so close to Leavenworth, we have people who want to come and train for the ACFT. So we have an ACFT sled.
It's dope.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Like, you know, my coach Jill, she's like, this is a huge advantage that you get to practice with the actual sled. And so I did some practice with our magic carpet sled. And I was like, this is going to be like, I'm going to rock this workout. Like the sled moves so well. I feel like I can get really nice pulls with it. And then I got out on the floor.
Wait, but before you got out on the floor, you watched the East because they went first, right? Were you hearing this stuff about like the flooring and the mats there? And was that like, were you thinking about that at all?
So a little bit, like I had heard people saying like, oh, the sled is a lot harder to move because it's on the rubber mats and blah, blah, blah. But we have those same rubber mats at our
gym. Yeah,
like
yeah.
Our mats at the gym are sticky. Like they are not for pulling sleds. And so the fact that I was able to practice with our sled, with our magic carpet sled on the gym mats, and I still felt like I was moving the sled very well.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you know, like this is just a good movement for me. Like it's, you know, some people are going to struggle with it, but I'm probably on the heavier end of athletes. And, you know, as we saw from week 1, heavier athletes had a benefit in that workout for moving the sled. So I wasn't too stressed about it. You know, there's no sleds in the warm-up area at any of the semifinals. So most people aren't even touching the sled until they're out on the competition floor. So the fact that I could practice it beforehand was a big advantage for me.
Yeah.
But then I got out on the floor and I don't know what happened in my lane in the heats before me, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in one of the heats before me, because I think the guys went before us for that workout. I can't remember. But I was, even in the females, I was in the last heat. So there was 2 heats before me. And if somebody in that lane before me got the sled, like pulled it too far off the ground and the front end curled underneath itself, now that sled is just like, it's more prone to curling underneath itself every time you pull it, because it's curled under and there's 180 pounds sitting on top of that while it's curled under itself. So now like the fabric naturally wants to keep doing that. And so every time I pulled, like I got a few really good pulls at the beginning and then it curled underneath itself. And it was like, you know, I only did 2 of the 3 sled pulls because I got time capped after the ski. But in those 2 pulls, which was 6 total lengths across the floor, I probably had to run out and fix my sled like 8 times because it kept curling underneath itself. And like it was happening to the girl in the lane next to me a bunch too. But like you could see there were other girls, or just like across all the competitors, guys and girls, there were people who weren't having those issues and people who were having those issues. And like some of the commentary was like, oh, well, it depends on your technique for pulling the sled. And if you're getting the sled too high, then you're going to curl it underneath itself. But like, I went back and watched my videos, and I was not getting the front end of the sled off the ground. My sled was staying flat on the ground, and it was still curling underneath itself.
Damn.
So it was frustrating. But it is what it is. Like, I wasn't the only one it happened to. So it wasn't like, oh, woe is me, whatever. Like, I know other people were in the same situation, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I kind of just had to like accept it for what it is and move on.
That's like one of those things that it just feels like CrossFit, that should be easy to get right,
Yeah. And I
the
think
sled's not like malfunctioning like that.
so. The intention of using that sled, I think, was to avoid having issues lane to lane and sled to sled, like has happened in the past, when it's like, oh, that lane had more sunlight, so the sled moved easier, or that sled was better polished, so it moved easier. And like when you use metal sleds, you have that variability lane to lane. So I think the thought process was, if we're pulling on these gym mats and we're using these magic carpet sleds, we're not going to have that variability lane to lane, but there was variability just in a different way. So in theory, it was a good idea. I don't know that it necessarily was a good idea in practice.
I hear that. Do you feel like, and I guess we could get into this more as we talk about the weekend. Do you feel like they were ready? The semifinal staff was like ready before the first week. I mean, we kind of talked about it back and forth with people that got pulled out of week one, the NA East, with the rule of the minimum work requirement that wasn't fully out there. Or do you feel like they got to week one and that was a test week, and then week two they were a little bit more ready? Do you feel like the team was ready when the first week kicked off?
I mean, I can't really speak much to the first week because I wasn't there. So
yeah,
I didn't actually
only from what we saw, right?
Yeah, I didn't see how the team operated for week one. I do know, just based on some of the things that they published and released going into week two, they did learn a lot from week one, and they made changes going into week two based on what happened in week one.
Yeah.
So that was, it's frustrating that it couldn't have been like perfect in week one, but I don't think any of the weeks were going to be I don't think any of the weeks were perfect.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were able to like improve over the weeks is a good sign, because they're actually like paying attention. They're taking note of the things that go wrong, and they're making an effort to fix them.
Right. I mean, and very few things in life can be perfect, right? Like, you just try to get as close as possible as you can. But all right, going on, workout two. What's workout two? Is this the ruck one with the muscle up, the complex there? How'd that go? How was the ring complex?
I loved it. Excuse me. I loved it. I love ring muscle ups. I've put a lot of work into them over the past few years, and I can say with a decent amount of confidence that I'm probably one of the best on the rings in the field.
Awesome.
And with the ruck, I think, depending on your muscle up technique, the ruck could throw you off a lot, or it could just be like a minor annoyance. And I think for me, it was just a minor annoyance.
Yeah.
And I had a cut going into semifinals. I had like a 3-month cut at the beginning of the year to try and drop some weight for semifinals. And so basically, by the time I put the ruck on, I was just back
like your
to
old
my
weight.
Training weight.
Right. Feel that. Gained weight versus training weight, just like with weightlifting, just like with every sport, What's your like muscle up volume like? Like how often are you doing them in your training throughout the year?
It varies depending on the cycle I'm in. I usually do like 6 to 8 week cycles. Going into the open and quarterfinals and semifinals, my gymnastics volume definitely went up.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a lot of strict muscle ups leading into semifinals. I had a whole strict muscle up cycle going into semifinals. But before that, I had done a decent amount of kipping. I had done, I would say, anywhere from like 20 to 60 a week, like leading into semifinals.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's some advice for all the people out there that don't listen to their coaches about how to get better at muscle ups. None of my CrossFit athletes ever want to do their muscle up accessory stuff. They only want to do muscle ups, up total bar thing. Was that, in your opinion, was that more of a muscle up movement or dip movement? Like, what was the hard part about that?
I think it really depends on the athlete. I think for a lot of people,
like, were people fail on the dip once they got up there? Did that happen to anyone?
That did. It happened where people couldn't lock out the muscle up, or they would get to the top of the muscle up and then they couldn't lock out the dip.
Yeah.
But I think for probably about the same number of people, they couldn't get the turnover with the ruck. So I think it really just depended on the athlete, what they had been working on, where their specific weaknesses in the muscle up. And it's kind of like what I was saying before, where like, if you rely on a really big kip and you get like very horizontal to the ground in your turnover, that ruck is going to throw you off a lot, because now all that weight is towards the ground and you're having to get it 180 degrees over on top of you.
Yeah, it's all about the angles, right? Well, did that thing move around on you, or was it pretty sturdy?
I cinched mine down pretty tight.
Yeah.
I mean, 13 years in the Army, I am pretty comfortable with a ruck on my back.
Yeah, you're still having that, but
kind of like how to position it. It's going to work best for me. I think some people were scared to have something so tight, either across their chest or across their stomach or across their shoulders. And so they wore it a little bit looser. And I think that those people, like if it moved around a lot, that also added to the struggle of getting the turnover, because now you have moving weight when you're trying to turn over.
The very one time that I've done a muscle up with the vest on, I was like, this is not for me. You just feel everything moving through the air at the same time. It's not a vibe.
So like the first time I ever did muscle ups with a vest, I had the same reaction of like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah.
But then you kind of like get used to it. And the vest is a little bit easier because it's distributed between your front and your back.
Yeah.
I had never even attempted anything on the rings with a ruck until they announced that workout. And then I didn't have a go ruck, so I just threw a weight in a backpack and I hopped up. I literally took like a strap that you use to put rings on the rig.
Yeah.
And I made that into like a waist strap.
Tied it around you. That's funny. That's like, remember when that workout Chad first came out, the 1,000 step ups or whatever, everyone was doing stuff like that because no one had a ruck at the time. That's hilarious.
And so I hopped up and I did like one muscle up and I came down. I was like, holy crap, that's weird.
Here we go. This is about to happen. That's hilarious.
But yeah, I really liked the rings in that workout. Honestly, the hardest part for me was the pistols. I had practiced it with alternating pistols because
you just said you practiced alternating because they were like same leg, right?
Yeah, you had to do 5 unbroken at a time. And so the way they counted it was weird. It was like if you did 3 unbroken, but then your foot came down, you would go back to 2.
Yeah, because they were counting it at the next rep because it was consecutive. But then how does it end, right? Like when you stand up? Because then it's just a weird count.
When you stand up for 5, yeah.
Yeah, but I understand that. They always try to, when they do those judges meetings, right? They're like, let's standardize this, count this way. That's what that is. I know.
Yeah.
All right, next workout. 3 barbells. Is this Linda?
Yeah.
So how do we feel about this iteration of Linda?
I liked it.
Dumbbell bench, and then did they have something else that was different? Dumbbell bench and then squat clean.
The other parts were the same, the deadlift and the squat cleans.
Barbell, okay.
The same as they did it at regionals in 2018. It was just they replaced the barbell bench with a dumbbell bench.
Yeah. How'd you feel about that change? Do you like the dumbbell bench?
I don't mind it. I like a barbell bench better.
Yeah.
But I am decent at dumbbell bench. I practiced it twice before semifinals, and both times I stayed unbroken on the dumbbells. In competition, I stayed unbroken until the round of 3, and I think it was an accumulation from all of the dips and the burpees with the rock before. I got to the round of 3, got 2 reps in, and then I tried to lock out my 3rd rep, and the dumbbell on my left arm just like crumbled and actually came down on my face.
Oh, literally everyone's worst nightmare. I think about that when I'm alone in the gym all the time. What if I just crush my nose right now and I'm laying here like that? Someone comes in and finds me. I mean, the origin story of my villain arc. That's how it go down.
I'm pretty sure I actually bruised my cheek. My cheek was sore for like 4 days after that.
Oh,
but
shit.
I didn't break my glasses. So that was important. But it just it came down right on my face. I got the dumbbells to the ground and shook my arms out a little bit, and I'm getting ready to go up again. And my judge comes running over and she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?"
Are you alive still? Wait, quick question. How many pairs of glasses do you bring to competitions? Regular glasses, not sunglasses.
I don't have vision insurance currently. So these glasses that I'm wearing right now are the only glasses I have that are my current prescription. But they're too big for my face because they're Army standard issue.
That's hilarious.
So I can't.
So one pair, this pair.
Well, no, because I can't work out in these because they fall off my face and they're just too big and they move around too much. So I have another pair that are a little bit tighter on my face. I still have to wear a glasses strap around the back of my head with them.
Right.
But they're tighter on my face so they won't actually fall off while I'm working out. But they're an old prescription. And because they're so tight, if I wear them too long, they give me a headache.
So now they're going a little glossy and shit like that.
So those are my workout glasses that I only wear while I'm working out. And then these are the rest of the time glasses.
CrossFit, you got to start some kind of insurance thing for athletes, man. So we can get vision and dental.
Oh, it's a struggle.
For all the semifinal athletes out there. How many, that would be what? Freaking, how many people make it to semis? Like 40 to each one?
Yeah, 600 individuals.
In the individual? Yeah, it's what? 200 people in the world, 300 people in the world CrossFit to give them insurance. That's not that many people. What was I going to say about the dumbbell though? Oh, you know what? I like dumbbell benching better than barbell. You know why? Because I'm lazy. It's it's a lot to set up the rack at KOP. So I'm like, you know what? Dumbbells it is. Stability while I get my strength work in.
Oh my gosh.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I am lucky though, because Jill gave me a lot of dumbbell benching over the past year. So.
That's good. It's 4 and 5. Is that the 2-part workout, snatch and air runner? I really liked your take on that, being known as the barbell athlete before, and then working to break that and still have that in your bag, but just to have more tools in your toolkit. Tell us more about the workout, I guess.
Yeah, so started with an 800 meter air runner into a 1 rep max snatch with a 6-minute cap, then a 2-minute rest. And then you go into 8 snatches at 125 into an 800 meter sprint on the runner.
How did that 2-minute rest feel? Did it feel like it was 2 minutes?
The rest honestly felt fine. The first run literally didn't matter. It wasn't a tie break. It wasn't anything. The only thing that it did was get you more or less time for your 1 rep max snatch.
Right.
So nobody was pushing hard on the first 800. It was just make sure you have enough time to get in 2 or 3 good lifts.
Right.
So, you have almost an 800 meter warm-up run and then a couple heavy lifts, and then you've got a whole 2 minutes to rest. So I wasn't out of breath. I wasn't super fatigued or anything going into that 2-minute rest.
I don't feel that ever on an 800 meter run.
But think about it. It was, at that point, it had already been 4 or 5 minutes since I finished the 800 meter run.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, I have a question. Do you warm up before you go out for the event, and how much time is it between when you're warming up? Is there a back room area like that? How much time do you think is between when you touch the barbell and then when you're on the air runner?
Yeah. So we had a warm up area. I would start warming up 20 to 30 minutes before our corral time. And our corral time was 20 minutes before our event time. So we would warm up 20 minutes before we would corral. But for the snatch event, they actually moved it up 5 minutes. So it was 25 minutes before our event, because then we would corral, they would mark our numbers. They would put our chip timers on us. And then if there was extra time before we needed to walk, they would release us back to keep warming up for like 4 or 5 more minutes. And then we would come line up again. We would walk down this like super creepy underground hallway to a freight elevator. And then we would go up in this elevator and they would walk us out into
elevator.
Yeah. They would walk us out into the like corral area by the floor. But for the snatch event specifically, they brought us out there 5 minutes early because they had 4 platforms set up right behind the competition floor where we could hit a couple lifts right before we walked out.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So I hit my last lift maybe like 5 minutes before the 3, 2, 1 go. So it wasn't a huge amount of.
Yeah, that's good. That run will warm you back up, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, because I've heard of like people at comps like even Wadapalooza, where it's like a half hour or longer between when you touch whatever your warm up stuff is between when you get out on the floor. You know?
Oh yeah, I mean, you saw my first clean and jerk at Wadapalooza. It was absolute trash because I hadn't touched the barbell in 30 minutes.
Right. Oh, exactly. Yeah, just like
I opened at 185 and I actually missed my first lift. And I took about 20 seconds to reset and I hit it again and I almost missed it again, but I was able to stabilize my catch.
A little step forward, you know.
So originally my idea was like 185, 200, and then see what happens. Because I missed the first 185, I hit 185, and then I really only had like just over 60 seconds. So I couldn't see or hear my coach during this part because she was too far away in the crowd.
Yeah.
But her and I had talked a lot over the past couple months about like one of the things that I need to work on the floor is taking risks. And so in the moment, I'm trying to decide, should I go to 195? Should I go to 200? What do I do? And I'm just hearing her in my head saying, take the risk. So I'm like, all right, put 200 on the bar.
Got to do it.
And, I pulled it twice. I missed it both times. I missed it the second time right at the time cap. And it sucks, but in retrospect, I'm glad I took the risk.
You got to shoot. We talked about that last time, right? When you're in those situations, like, got to shoot.
Yeah. Like, would it have been nice to hit 195 and maybe go up a couple places on the leaderboard? Yeah, sure. But I know that I'm capable of more than that. My one rep is 215.
Right.
So I know I can hit 200 even after running 800 meters. And so it was just one of those things where like, it didn't work out the way that I had hoped, but I would have been upset with myself if I hadn't taken that risk.
Right. So what's the mindset going into the next one? Like wipe that off within 2 minutes. And then you got to go cycle the barbell. Where you like rip roaring to get to it, like the 125 bar?
Yeah, I was. So in that 2 minute reset, it was, I think I wrote in my Instagram post, be a goldfish from Ted Lasso, where like, you just got to forget and move on. And like, if I had let that 200 linger in my mind, it would have affected my performance on test 5.
What is it about Jason Sudeikis that's so like heartwarming, man? Everyone loves Ted Lasso. I like that guy, but I can't really get into it. Is it the mustache that he has? It's like not a creeper mustache. Was he a school teacher in that? Is he a school teacher in Ted Lasso?
Is he a what?
Is he a school teacher?
He's a football coach.
Oh, football coach. I'm not, because I've never watched it. I just know everyone loves it.
So
just seeing him from the thing, he's got big like gym teacher vibes. So football coach makes sense.
Yeah. It's an amazing show. You should definitely watch it.
Maybe I'll get into it. I finally caught up on Succession. That's what everyone else was on.
Oh, I've only seen like 2 episodes of that. I got to get back to that.
They ended in the same week. They both dropped the season finale the same week.
Oh man.
Yeah, but back to the thing. Back to the barbell.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso, be a fish.
Just gotta like forget it happened. Otherwise, it's gonna impact my test 5, and test 5 is another 100 points up. So like I can't let that affect my test 5. So just took a second to reset on the start mat in that 2 minutes, and I knew test 5 was going to hurt really bad. I am not a runner, and I've spent a lot of time over the past year working on my running.
Right.
So that
Well, do you run more outside or on the air runner? Like, which do you feel like the games is gearing more towards?
I only run outside because I don't have an air runner.
Mm.
I had access to an air runner when I was going up to the gym at Fort Leavenworth. But now that I'm out of the Army, I can't get on base anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't have an air runner. So I can only run outside. But I've run a lot over the past year, trying to make sure that when running comes up, I won't finish last. Because in the past, if there was a run, it was almost guaranteed that I was going to finish last.
Yeah. That's you go through what a lot of the strong athletes go through. Right. And that's why it's admirable to hear that. It's like, all right, it's cool to win the strength events, but I would like to win these other ones too, or like at least get better at them. We watch it with like Easy, Gee, all those dudes.
Yeah.
What's called Khalifa, it's a tough road.
Yeah. So, and that's part of the reason why, like, I missed 200 and I ended up in like the mid-teens for my placement for the snatch workout. But, I finished top half in the run workout. So,
right.
It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
And so that was the longest 800 meters of my life. First 200 felt great. And as soon as I crested the 200 meters, I was like, oh, I don't think I've ever run that hard in my life. I wasn't sure that I was going to make it through all 800 meters without passing out or just like face planting on the runner.
Oh my God, that's me on a 200 meter warm up.
But, it was one of those things where like, I've been doing a lot of long runs over the past year, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles. And so in the past, looking at an 800 meter run, I would have been like, holy crap, that's so long. But because Jill has had me putting in so many miles over the past year, it was completely different. They released it and I was like, well, at least it's only 800 meters.
Right. You can do this.
Yeah.
It'll be over a lot quicker than that 6,
Yep. So it was very deep pain cave the entire time, but I got through it.
Yeah.
And I finished top half.
Yeah, that's dope. So what was your brain thinking when you had to get off and like go over? So there's this super jack dude that keeps running by the gym. And I'm like, damn, how are you running? You're so jack. Yeah, there's the bridge right here. So it's a hill.
Yeah.
He's running up and down. He's freaking jack. But so what are you thinking as you have to go over to the barbell from the look? He's going back up the hill again, man. That's what I need to be doing. As you're walking over to the bar, because it's the run into the bar, right?
Test 5 was the bar into the run.
Oh, okay. It should have been the other way around so people could die, like, all right, go sell your soul on the run and then try to do the 8 snatches.
Yeah,
all right, that's fine.
So the bar really didn't even matter. It was just touch and go 8 snatches and then die on the runner.
Yeah, that wasn't even anything. It would have been much better if it was after the run, because then it's like, all right, now who can really hold on to this? You know what I really like? This is really mean. I like putting in sprints right into thrusters. I think that's always really terrible for people. Like go sprint a 200 meter run and then come back in and do like 15 thrusters. It's the worst thing you've ever have to do. Or wall balls. But all right, I don't even want to talk about CrossFit anymore. I mean, I love talking about CrossFit, but give me your thoughts on test 6 and 7. Just tell me what was your favorite event across the whole weekend?
Oh, favorite event was test 7.
Test 7?
Yeah.
Is that the sprint one?
Yeah, the Echo Bike Toes to Bar sandbag carry.
Yeah.
I got to race Rebecca Fuselier, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun to watch.
I practiced. So when the day that was released, I looked at Jill and I said, Jill, I'm going to win this workout. And she was like, I believe that.
Right.
And then I tested it a couple days later, and my friends who were at the gym at the time after the workout was over, I was like, guys, I'm going to win this workout.
Right.
And they're like, all right. So I was hoping that my test 6, so for test 6 on Sunday morning, I was in heat 4, and I was hoping that my finish in test 6 would move me into heat 5 for the last workout. Unfortunately, I got hung up on my last handstand walk pirouette, and I stayed in heat 4 for the last workout. But it was really cool that I still had Rebecca there in heat 4 with me to race.
Yeah.
Because I went like 25 seconds faster than testing, just having her next to me to race. It was so fast. I got back to the bike for the 3rd round, and I'm like running to my bike, and I'm like, oh, I do not want to do this bike. It's gonna hurt so bad.
That's so funny. Literally thinking in your head, I am speed. I am dying. That's funny.
But the thing that I kept telling myself, I'm like, it's not going to hurt as bad as the 800 last night.
Yeah.
Like, this bike will not hurt as bad as that 800 meter run. So
That's
just
awesome.
Get it over with.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And then
Bike over run any day.
my last set of toes to bar, it was sets of 20 for 3 rounds. I went unbroken for the first 2 rounds, and then I got up for the 3rd round, and I had like a 3 or 4 second lead over Rebecca, and I was like, all right, I gotta hang on. And I stayed unbroken when I practiced it. So I just kept telling myself, you've done this unbroken once before, you can do it again.
Yeah.
I was very confident a couple reps towards the end that I was literally just going to fly off the bar, but I didn't. I made it through all 20.
That's funny.
And yeah, that was a really cool workout. Having such a good athlete in the lane next to me to have that race was really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's like back to the thing, right? She's not a strength athlete. So for you to be racing with her, says a lot to all the work you put in over the past year.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment that's not like a workout from the weekend? Anything else that like you walked away with, or you're like, that was really cool?
A couple things, and they're all kind of related. Just the number of people that were supporting me that weekend that I had never met before, just like random strangers coming up to me saying they had so much fun watching me on the competition floor, or like people telling me that they love my hair. And there were,
did you just decide to do that weekend? Do you usually work out with your hair out?
I
remember Julia said something about it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like a different thing. That's just, I guess, the vibe she was feeling.
I used to braid it when I worked out. But then it got to the point where it's so long that even a braid will like smack me in the face, or
it'd be heavy. It's like a rope hitting you, right?
Yeah. So I was like, I'm just gonna honestly, part of it came from Alex Kazan. When I met her at Zalos Games last year, the very first thing I said to her, I was like, I have to ask, how do you control your hair when you work out? Because I haven't figured it out yet. And she was like, honestly, I don't. I just let it do its thing. Like, you know what? Maybe I need to start doing that.
That's dope.
So I was just like, I'm just going to let it do whatever. And it is what it is.
That's so dope.
So yeah. But one of the coolest things, there were these girls that day one after the first event, I walked out for the first event in like a baggy t-shirt. And then about halfway through my run, I took my shirt off. And afterward, these girls came up to me. I'd never met them before. And they were like, yo, you walked out there in that baggy t-shirt. And I said, there's got to be something under that shirt. And then you took your shirt off. And I was like, oh, I'm right. And so then for the rest of the weekend, they just kept yelling at me, pop the top, like to take my shirt off.
I saw that, yeah.
And so after the last event, I got across the finish line and I took my shirt off and I pointed at her because she was across the finish line standing next to my family. So I took my shirt off and I pointed at her And then once the heat was over and we were all walking off the floor, I grabbed my shirt and I threw it at her.
That's funny.
And she was so excited. And then maybe like an hour or two later, I'm walking around trying to find where I pick up my banner. And her wife runs into me and she's like, hey, my wife is so excited about your shirt. She wants you to sign it. Like, can you wait a second so she can come over here and you can sign it? I'm like, yeah, sure. And so she FaceTimes her wife. And her wife comes on the phone and she's literally just got my shirt like draped across her head. and she turns the camera to me and her wife goes, oh my God, I'm coming. And she runs over. She's like, I got a Sharpie and everything. You got to sign it real big.
That's funny.
So I signed the shirt for her. And
wait, is it your shirt? Like the one with you on it?
Yeah. It's the Miller
that's
shirt
fire.
from Barbell Voodoo. It's one that I tie-dyed.
That's dope.
So I tie-dyed 2 of them.
Yeah.
Because they're just plain white shirts. I
gotta steal that idea. Tie-dye.
So it was one of the tie-dyed ones, and I gave it to her, and she was like, I'm so excited. We do tie-dye Tuesdays at my gym, so I'm gonna wear this for tie-dye Tuesday.
Oh yeah, that's a vibe. Yeah, I need to steal that idea. I need to tie-dye my John. You know, I'm too large of a person to be rocking a white shirt to work out in.
But it was really cool that like these girls that were complete strangers at the beginning of the weekend just like decided that they liked me and wanted to cheer for me, so much so to the point that they wanted me to sign a shirt at the end of the weekend.
That's awesome. That's fire. I need to get my shirt signed. That's what I should have requested. Damn. I'm slacking. I could have had the first one. Oh man.
Actually, a guy at my gym had the first one. He asked me to sign his shirt when he got it.
I could have had the second one. Oh man, damn, I'm slipping with that one. But that's awesome though. Yeah, it's really cool that you get to walk away with moments like that from the weekends. You know, it's good that live person competitions are back and still an important part of the culture of CrossFit.
Yeah. And it was so cool. Like compared to Syndicate last year, the amount of people that were there to spectate this year was insane. They sold out tickets Friday and Sunday.
That's dope.
It was insane.
That's dope. That's good. That's good to hear because they've been on a mission to get more people to all these events, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's awesome. You think Orlando was a better location?
Pasadena?
Well, no, Orlando on the east and Pasadena in the west.
I don't know if it was necessarily the location or just like the fact that there were a lot more athletes to come watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because it was only so many. That's smart.
30 versus 60. And I think like the fact that CrossFit was running them made more people interested in attending. Versus
people want to go see the elite athletes, you know?
Yeah.
That's what Wadapalooza, why that's the sold out part of the night.
Yeah. We had Ariel, Rebecca, Bailey Rail, Alex Kazan, Katrin, like Lauren Fisher, Liv, like all of these big name athletes that so many people would want to come see. So I think that it draws a lot more people in than just having like 2 or 3.
That's crazy. Someone just texted me repeatedly. Could you hear the beep going on the computer?
No.
It was Julia. I was like, Julia, relax, you know? But yeah, it's awesome that they have like more people coming out. All those big names. Like I didn't even think about that when I was going to judge at Wadapalooza, how people like excited people were going to be for like everyone to be there, the Catrins, Fellners and all that stuff, you know? So did you start planning your next off season already? You started talking about that a little bit earlier, like what things you're going to be doing here. Do you guys like have the framework laid out for what you're going to do training wise, comp wise, all that stuff?
Yeah. So we had like a broad strokes conversation yesterday. Definitely not competing as much this off season as I did last off season, just because it took away a lot of opportunities to actually.
You heard it here first, folks. We'll see how true that remains through Christmas. Check back in then to see what happens. Keep going.
Yeah, you know, I need to actually have like full training cycles that don't keep getting interrupted by competitions.
I go into Aruba. Yeah.
So, the ones that I'm hoping to do this off season are Rogue and Wadapalooza, maybe Dubai, depending on the details they release for that. I'm hoping Rogue
Dubai,
does qualifier again
that's
this
a
year.
thing still, right? Is that
Yeah.
what you said? Yeah. Dubai. Oh, okay, that's dope.
But Rogue, Wadapalooza, maybe Dubai. And then
Yeah, go to Rogue. I think
there's
that's where I want to go
training.
spectate. I think I'm going to go to spectate at Rogue and Monopalooza. I think I'm
Rogue?
leaving the judge days behind.
Rogue is so much fun. I went last
Yeah.
year with Fit Aid, and
I just want to see the strongman stuff.
Yeah, I was working the Fit Aid booth for a lot of it, but we did get breaks that we got to go watch some of the events, or like when Vendor Village would close before the events were over, we got to go watch, and it's just such a cool. It's such a small venue. It feels really intimate. Like it feels like you're right on the floor with the competitors. And it's such a well-run event.
Is it a baseball? Is it baseball?
Yeah, it's Dell
that's what I thought I remembered from watching it. It looks like that. Yeah, that's dope. I'm definitely into that. And Ohio's not far, Wait, no,
Texas.
is that in Tennessee, right?
Texas.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Arnold's in Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Texas isn't that far, I guess, too.
Only halfway across the country.
Yeah, it's not Cali, I guess you could say that. I feel like it's actually only how long is the flights from PA to Cali? It's like what, 12 hours, 14 hours, something like that?
No, it's like if you go direct, it's like 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Then what's Texas? 5?
Probably something like that.
5. Why did I say 14? Like Julia's parents just flew from Korea, and it took a little bit more than that. I'm tripping. But that's dope. So you're gonna have more of an off season. I love that. Time to finish the Harry Potter movies. What do you have? Well, I know some of it already, because like the movie, it's been out for so long. But what do you have as far as prediction wise? What do you think is going to happen? What do you want to see happen in the next 2 movies?
I mean, I feel like I already know the big plot points. Like I know Dumbledore dies. I know
Who even cares about Dumbledore? He's actually a terrible
Harry
human.
ends up with Ginny and Ron ends up with Hermione.
Yeah, everyone knows that. You can't miss that.
And at some point, Harry will beat Voldemort.
What do you think about like who they ended up with from your perspective? Because like I read it as they were coming out, so there was kind of like they might not end up together. From your perspective, do you think that's like evident from the beginning, the couples that are going to happen?
So I don't know if I was just like super oblivious to things, but I was convinced that Harry was going to end up with Hermione.
That Harry ended up with Hermione, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what I thought too.
So, but then once you know who they end up with and you go back and rewatch it, you see it. You're like, oh, like it really was Hermione and Ron from the beginning.
Hold on 1 second. What up, Dustin? I'm on the call right now. I'm early. I'm way early. I'm in. Number 2 swapped in here. He's an hour early, so the opposite of me. But yeah, I feel that, man. I felt for a long time like they could have pulled a flim flam and gone Harry and Hermione at the end.
Yeah, but then so what I was saying was like once you know that Hermione ends up with Ron, if you go back and watch from the beginning, you'll see it from the beginning. Yeah. Like it's very subtle, but it's there.
Because she's all like way jealous of him and stuff like that all the time.
All the time.
Mm-hmm. Especially when they have the dance. And that's in 4, right?
Yep.
But it's way evident way before that, though. Yeah. What was I going to say? What are your thoughts on Dumbledore? Like realistically, you know that he dies, but do you know like what his plan is? Those are things you were saying you don't know, right? Like
I don't know about
Horcruxes, you don't know about Dumbledore's plans. Does Dumbledore seem like a hero?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like and I know you and I have talked before about like why didn't Dumbledore just like stop this shit?
Yeah, his reckless treatment of children. How they would have called freaking the child services on him, the CHS child health services on him like long time ago. Get this man out of a school.
Oh my God. But I feel like, I mean, at least the gist I get is like nobody can defeat Voldemort except Harry. And Dumbledore knows that. So Dumbledore is just like trying to guide Harry to that in the best way he can. And I feel like it's one of those things where like, if you've got a teenager and you tell them to do something, they're going to say no just because you told them to do it.
Yeah.
But if you guide them to it and make them think it's their idea, then they'll do it.
Okay.
I feel like that's what Dumbledore is doing with Harry.
One of those good old if I tell you what's going to happen, then it won't happen. Little Doctor Strange kind of vibe. One of those things. If I tell you what's going to happen, it won't happen. Like, come on now. We'll reconvene, like I said, after you watch those 2 movies, and we'll see what you think about all the characters at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just spouting lies right now. I guess I'll find out.
What kind of deaths have happened so far? Serious?
Yep.
Did they do the Harry Potter clones yet? No, that's not how they got him out of the house. Something that's not talked about as much that's a really good part of Harry Potter is how they break Harry Potter out of his aunt and uncle's house every year.
Oh my God, I love it.
And how it gets bigger and bigger. I love it.
One of my favorite scenes is the flying car scene.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The bars off the window and then they crash into the Whomping Willow. I love it so much.
Classic. Like, especially when I was a kid, it was great thing to see. I wonder if she planned that, if she planned to have that be a reoccurring thing when she did it first and the second one. Yeah, like I wonder if she was like, oh, I'm gonna have this happen like a trope in every book, or if she just like it worked in the second one, so she kept doing it.
I feel like that had to have been pre-planned because, like,
probably
with the story, like Hogwarts is his escape, but then every summer he's got to go back with his aunt and uncle, and he's just stuck there. And like, if it was even when he first goes to Hogwarts, they weren't going to let him go. They were going to hide it from him completely.
They don't love him and want him there, but they also don't want him to go have fun and be a wizard for the rest of the year. Exactly. With both of them, it's like catch-22.
So like if they had the power to stop it, they would.
Yeah.
But other people have magic.
Right.
They don't have, so they can't stop it.
You know what? Now that you brought that up, even I agree with you. I think from the very first one, because Hagrid had to come kidnap him from the wherever they were staying.
All the letters fall down.
Yeah. They had to come take him the first time and then the second time. Yeah. So I think she did pre-plan it to do it every year.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But all right, Leah, I think this has been another great episode. Tell me now, for like the 28th time, what are you hungry for?
I'm hungry to make it to the games next year. I know that was my goal this year and I fell short, but I learned a lot. And I think that I have made massive improvements just from last year to this year. Biggest improvement, I think, has been mindset. And I'm hungry to get back to training. I am excited to find my limits.
Right.
I don't think I've found them yet.
That's dope. I mean, I think that the saying like Rome wasn't built in a day applies. Like, this is how you accomplish a goal, like it's not just like a 1-day thing. It's literally like, all right, I was on the bubble last year. I was deep in it this year. Now next year, this is where I'll be, to accomplish your goal. It's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome to watch. Like I said before,
Thank you.
Take your time in the off season to watch the rest of Harry Potter. There is, so did you read the books or you just watch the movies?
I'm just watching the movies right now. I read like 4.5 of the books when I was in middle school and high school. I never finished the rest of the books.
My friend Jenna that I had on the show, she's doing both. She would read the book and then watch the movie right afterwards. She said she's doing it with her like 6 or 7-year-old son though. So it's a little bit, easier. They read that at night and stuff like that, then watch the movie throughout the week afterwards.
That's cool.
One thing I wanted to ask you, did you watch Game of Thrones? I don't remember.
Yes.
You did?
I haven't watched any of the spinoffs yet, but I did watch Game of Thrones.
House of Dragons was really good if you watch the whole thing, but it's whatever,
they're making one about Jon Snow.
Supposedly, you hear it like secretly and you see like a poster.
They have an Instagram page.
What? They have a what? An Instagram page?
Official Instagram page.
Yeah, but the writers are on strike right now. So who knows what's going to happen in the next 4 months if they go and rest, because it was just supposed to start pre-production.
Yeah, that's true.
It went over COVID. They told us that it was going to be out by now.
Yeah.
The thing they told us it was going to be out 2021. Now it's about to be 2024. It's June 2023.
Life happens.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that sometimes when life keeps happening, you lose out on a Jon Snow show,
I hope not.
I feel like, because I feel like they're so in tune with the feedback, and there's so many trolls online that are hated in the comments that they're like, should we really do this? You know?
But I think there's enough people that love Jon Snow that it would still be wildly successful.
Yeah, for sure. The dude, like, I just read this the other day. The dude went to like rehab because he was like so jacked up from playing Jon Snow, and like the way the last season ended, and how he had to walk away from the character and stuff like that. He was so like deep into the show that when that ended, it messed him up. So they're like, should we put him back in that situation? That's like giving an alcoholic alcohol back, you know?
Holy crap. I didn't realize that.
I neither did I. I just read it like literally like Monday probably.
Wow.
No, I can understand that when something's like such a part of you, when it ends, you're like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah. Dude,
You know?
they need a therapist on set.
Right. I wonder if he was like walking around acting like Jon Snow afterwards. I wonder if that's what was happening. We should have
Walking
laughed.
around wearing an IKEA rug.
No, he took it home from the set. You know, that's what he would do. Take it home from the set. Do walking around in stores with that mad pouty face, looking so somber. That's what he probably was doing.
Did you know that some of those like shawls were just like bath mats from IKEA?
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They would just drape it on his couch at night. That's where it really goes. That's where he found it in IKEA, you know. Oh man. But all right, dogs. It's been another great episode with Ellia Miller here. Ellia, keep grinding, man. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Talk to you later, dogs. Peace. In the recording.